I'm here with Atul Tandon, who is the CEO of Opportunity International. And Atul, why don't you explain to us Opportunity, what does it do, where do you work, what sort of clients do you serve around the world?
So we are obviously an international microfinance organization. We enter, it'll be 50 years next year. And we are serving about a total of 17 million clients in close to 28 countries with 78 local partners. Our focus, has been traditionally on what we would call the working poor, people who are typically earning somewhere between $2.50 to $5 a day, and to provide them the financial resources, training, and support they need to build small businesses, local businesses, earn an income, stand on their feet. And our objective, of course, in that is that their livelihoods, that their income stream is sustainable, so that they are able to not just simply service the debt, but improve the quality of their life. Mm-hmm. Specifically to be able to send their children to school. So we have an education finance program in addition to our traditional microbanking, Larry, which today reaches about 14,000 schools funded through our partners in 20 plus countries and close to 4 million children in those schools. So arguably, we are probably amongst the largest, generators of capital for affordable education in the industry. That's unique to Opportunity. I don't believe most of our industry partners do that. We are in the process of a very significant shift in that we are wanting to go down market in terms of our clients. We believe that our call as a faith-based organization is to go to the least of these people who are left behind or are left out. And today, the people who really are left out and left behind are the people who are earning less than $2 a day. The opportunity to participate in the economic growth that the world has experienced over the last probably 25 years, those people have not had that opportunity. We want to give them that opportunity and take what we have learned over all these years, the 50 years, and apply it to that segment in terms of how do we help them build the skills and then have the resources that they need to have sustainable incomes and escape poverty. So our objective shifting, it's very early in that process, and as things would have it, just when we started, in fact, our official launch for that program was in January of this year, 2020. You know what happens end of March, we got COVID-19. Right. So, right now, we are right in the pivot, right at the, we had to pivot very rapidly.
So tell me about, with your partners, how is this affecting first of all, the clients of your partners? You talked about 17 million clients around the world. How are they being affected by the pandemic?
I'll give you some stats, and then I want to share a story. After 17 million clients, we have about 12.6 million who are savings clients, right? Who access who have on an average about $41 of savings in bank accounts, local bank accounts with our partners or through our agent networks. And those people, and then we have about 7.1 million loan clients.
Yeah.
What's essentially happened, Larry, as a result of the movement restrictions imposed by governments and local authorities, local businesses have stopped functioning. Marketplaces are closed. Businesses have stopped functioning. The direct result of that is loss of income. So we estimate that about 5.5 million, which is just over 80% of our clients have had a loss or impairment of income. In most cases, there's no income.
Yep.
Our Africa director, Tine Mavocha, he wrote me what one of his clients had told him was, he said, you all are fearing infection from COVID-19. I know we will die of starvation.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that captures what's
Right.
happening with the poor. And Larry, you know well, the hammer of any crisis falls the hardest on the poor and the hardest on the extremely poor. So that's what's happening.
Right.
You have little to begin with. Now you can't even get your day labor job. Your little market stall that you were selling, some homemade food products, that market stall is now closed. And you got kids at home who
Right.
used to go to school. Our schools, we used to have a meal program, 1 to 2 meals a day. The kids are not going to school. They're not getting their meals. You're not earning an income. That's what's happening to the clients.
Yeah.
Literally, that's what's happening to the clients.
And that sounds really tough at that level. And what you're saying is consistent with the research I've done too, of 300 million microfinance clients around the world, and a large percentage of them are in that same situation that you talk about, with governments under lockdown. And so the struggle with the clients, I imagine it's also in fact affecting your partners. If people aren't working, they can't pay back their loans.
Yeah.
You have all these savers who want to draw down all their savings now to survive during the crisis. How are your partners managing?
So that's it. It's a very good question, and that's what's actually occupying our minds, is both what do we do to serve our clients, help our clients, and then how do we support our partners to stay afloat through this crisis. So I call it the survive to thrive strategy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, how do we help you to survive today through the pandemic, this particular movement restriction phase, and do what we need to build your resilience, so that as these restrictions end, you're ready to bounce back, right? So, and to that end, on the partner side, what they need is frankly liquidity.
Yep.
Right? I mean, most of our partners, the good part we have to recognize and give credit for is all our partners are working.
Yep.
Right? The staff is working, the systems are working, branches are open, mobile networks are functioning. So I really believe, to the credit of the social banking industry around the world, people who are bankers to the poor, I am really proud to be in that community. We have proven this is not a tested model. This is the hardest test anybody could throw at this.
Right.
The financial systems built to serve the poor are intact and functioning. So the investments that we have made, governments and individuals, today are helping these people, the same clients, survive.
Right.
Now, the tough part then is, all right, what do we do in the interim to make sure that they stay open and functioning?
Yep.
One is principally what we need is quickly liquidity, which I'll come back to that. Secondly, is we actually need to rapidly increase mobile and digital access to services for our clients, both for the benefit of the clients and the safety of the staff, right? It's both sides.
Right.
Because you don't want to put staff in harm's way. On the third side, for our partners, will be if delinquency rates creep up and stay up, then you start getting into, all right, do they have sufficient capital?
Right.
So that probably step is a bit further out. Right now, what we have done is pretty rapidly actually invested in and are raising money for resources for a massive digital buildup, including things like phone systems and IVR, increasing capacity in our call centers. Basic things that we can do, steps we can take. And then arranging for lines for liquidity, and do that in a manner that we can then be able to, if the cost of money is high, all right, let's raise charitable dollars, which is what we do. We are a nonprofit, to buy down the cost of money, so that we can make funding available to our clients and to our partners at a reduced or a reasonable cost.
Right.
So this time they can survive and not have to pay usurious rates of interest,
Right.
right? You know well what happens in situations like this. Money lenders step in,
Right.
rates are astronomical, and that's what we want to tackle and battle.
And I found in other organizations, I imagine it's true in your partners too, that these organizations, their staff are providing an important lifeline to people in the midst of this crisis, that they're delivering food, they're teaching. Often they're the first ones that teach about how to handle, how to survive and stay safe during this time.
You're right. The Economist, the recent issue had a very interesting line on the bank response to COVID-19. And it said if medical workers and doctors are the first responders to the health crisis, bankers are the first responders to the economic crisis.
Right.
Right. And that's what's happening I thought about this a few weeks back, and I wrote to my staff that, our colleagues in our 78 partners, there's about 26,000 colleagues we have, fellow co-workers, we have turned into first responders.
Right.
Right. We are still out to a degree in the villages and the communities, in the small sort of trust group settings, small community settings, trying to keep social distance, doing basic communication, basic hygiene, helping these people get online. How do you access your accounts through SMS and texting? How do you make sure that your money is safe? Working with local small merchant shops to expand the agent network.
Yep.
Right now, one of the big challenges we're having is how do we make sure that the agents have cash?
Right.
If our client comes in and using their phone, now they can get cash. Well, if the agent doesn't really have physical cash, how are they going to give it to that person? Right. And is that cash safe? So those kind of things are what's happening. Larry, our staff, we don't work in expensive premises.
Right.
These are 2-3 small offices in the back of buildings. So how do you keep our own staff safe in all this?
Right.
It's the escalating impact is very severe. I do have to be, shout out to my coworkers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting here in Seattle, and I can have this conversation with you in very safe surroundings. But that's not the case for thousands of my coworkers. If you talk to them, they are in harm's way. They're still carrying on the work, and our hearts go out to them as they go out to, of course, our clients.
Right. And you've seen this too in your work. I've seen that when situations, when disasters happen, that the people who are at the bottom of the economy often are the first to bounce back. That they, once things start moving again, they don't have much to start with, but they know how to survive with little.
That's right.
So they use those skills, but now we have this challenge of, they will have depleted almost all their assets getting through the lockdown.
Yeah.
So how they won't have much to start back up with. So your role as a financial first responder, you're going to need to be there with cash, with money to lend out so that they can recapitalize and get started again.
That's right. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. Is that the need for our continued lending, right? And the need for continued rapid skill building and resilience. How do you make sure you have the money to lend, and you're helping these people build the resilience that they have in terms of skills and capacities to respond to this sort of new normal is going to be very, very important. And I think I go back to that. What we will need is a very rapid injection of large amounts of cash into the social banking system,
Yep.
right? And to make sure that it doesn't just stay with the institutions, but actually gets out to the clients.
Right.
And to that extent, what we are wanting to do, at least at Opportunity, is we are asking we are currently in the middle of a Survive to Thrive campaign to raise the charitable dollars that we need, both for making sure that the partners have liquidity and that the staff are safe, right? And that we actually are able to retain the staff.
Right.
Right? Because if you at this time, it's almost like going to a hospital and saying, yeah, we know there's COVID-19. We know when the phase ends, the patients are going to come streaming back into the hospital, right? And you're going to have a surge of a surge of patients, and you need capacity to respond to them. People are at home. It's the same thing for my banks.
Right.
Right. So are you going to get the hospital to lay off health workers when you know there's going to be a massive need for surge capacity needed in 2 or 3 or 4 weeks? No, you're going to stick it out there. I have the same thing.
Right.
I have to retain my staff. They have the relationships, they have the know-how, they have the networks, right, the skills. So we that's the third leg of our response with our partners is staff retention. And in that, keeping in mind that really our first response has to be for the clients, right? The end here is the clients are able to survive today, and then we can help them to thrive tomorrow. I mean, it's a both and. I have to say, Larry, I've been a banker for my whole life.
Yep.
I ran some of the world's largest commercial banking systems. This is hard.
Yeah.
This is
And
hard.
I think from that perspective, I don't know, people may not understand that when we talk about banks, you think of someone in an office and, dealing only with business activities, but in the role that these social banking plays, as you've called it, the microfinance institutions and the savings groups and the trust groups that you have, they are part of the social network of a community.
Yeah.
They're one of the trusted sources of information.
Yeah.
And these clients are going to be coming out to a new normal where what works in business may be totally different. The types of businesses, what they can do, and the relationships that you talked about are going to be important in helping clients navigate these changes.
Yeah.
And finding the opportunities that they can take advantage of.
Yes. You're right about that. In that I think one of the things that we observe over the years, I did even in my own childhood, is that the poor survive because the poor help the poor.
Right.
Right. The neighbor helps the neighbor. We talk about loving your neighbor. Well, that is the modus operandi in villages and small towns across the world. It has been for thousands of years, right? And having faith in a higher authority, the hope that comes from our faith in God, but then the confidence and the trust that comes from loving each other, walking with each other. I think the challenge we're going to have here is that everybody's weakened.
Right.
Everybody's weakened. So at the same time, and it's not only I've responded to the Asia tsunami, the earthquakes, hurricanes, the subcontinent-wide, famines. This is global, and it's everything.
Right.
So all right, now how do we help each other? Right? Everybody needs help. That's the trouble. Having said that, we also have to realize and remember that a little goes a long way.
Yep.
Right. And so if you're sitting in Mityana, Uganda, which is about 2 hours of a car drive outside of Kampala, the main city, and you're up in farm country. Well, what that lady needs to be able to do is to be able to sell 200 bananas in a day, and she's got her life back together, right? As long as she can sell her 200 bananas. as long as her coffee farm that's probably got 50 the coffee trees, if you will, that she can gather the produce, get
Right.
it processed, and get it to the local processor in time, and do it a few times a year. Well, that's what his life is. It's not grand life, but it's a manageable life. That's where a little goes a long way, right? Is all right. A $10,000 investment in that coffee farm will likely make sure that not only the lady who owns the farm, but 14 of her family members
Right.
now are able to feed themselves, go to school, and then continue to improve her life. So I think, to me, that's the objective that we need to have at Opportunity and organizations like ours, is that we keep reminding ourselves, our donors and our funders, that a little goes a long way. And I mean, we are right in the middle of our education finance program, as an example, Larry. And we wanted to make sure that the teachers who are employed in some of these highly skilled teachers are employed in schools that are at the top of the pyramid in terms of quality, right? They don't want to lose their teachers. They've invested years in building teachers. Well, the average salary for a teacher in these schools is $100 a month.
Mm. Mm.
It's not $8,000 a month. Right? It's $100 a month. So we asked the question, we said, all right, what is it that you believe they can survive on? The answer came back is that, well, if they had $75 a month, they will stay still. So now we are raising, funding for, frankly, $75 a month for an average school, 12 teachers per school, right? So you do the math, it's like about $900.
Yeah.
For less than $1,000, you are going to ensure that the best teachers in that community are available today to teach the kids over SMS, texting, and phone, to stay in touch with those students who are at home and not getting anything at all. There's no laptops and there is no data access, but are also available when the school opens.
Yep.
Right. And these are the best teachers. Well, Larry, I think, if we can raise it's for $1,000, I'm ensuring that something like 500 to 600 students are getting quality education. Will continue to get. Well, excuse me, that is about the best investment you can make in building future capacity and skills. So, so a little goes a long way. And that's the message I would have for us.
Yeah.
That is one. The other is, we have to intentionally, people like you and I, and people who have been present in these communities, our staff, our donors, our supporters, our funders, we have to make sure that the people we serve and engage with, they know that we are with them.
Yep.
Right? That message of we will survive this if we stay together visibly and intentionally. Right, we are stronger together, and that message is really probably the strongest messages I could give to people is to stand not only with your neighbors here, but to stand with your neighbors across the waters for us.
Right.
Let them know that we are here, and remind ourselves that a little goes a very, very long way.
Right.
It makes a tremendous difference.
In that sense, your theme of survive to thrive, it not only applies to clients and to your partners, but it applies to all of us.
Oh, yeah.
That, what this pandemic is showing is we all affect each other.
Mm-hmm.
The safety and health of any one of us depends on all of us.
That's right.
And that the more we can do to help the poorest people in the world thrive, the more we help the whole planet thrive and help all of us thrive together.
Yeah. You're absolutely so right about that. It's we are in this together, Larry.
Right.
We are absolutely in this together, and there isn't any there's no exceptions. I mean, this is a crisis that is here with us, and in its impact will stay with us for a
Right.
while. I mean, I was talking to one of my colleagues in Ghana, in Accra, about what's happening in they reopened the as you know, the lockdowns were eased in Accra, which is the capital city of Ghana, West Africa. Just a couple of days back, I said, "What does it look like? Is everything back to normal?" And he said, "Well, till the new normal is the big local market for the local community, the trade market, where all of the
Right.
it's like." What you would call a farmers market. It's like the biggest sort of farmers market in the community, and there are literally probably thousands of these local vendors, all right, who go there, and hundreds of thousands of people who come shopping. Well, the Makola market in the center of the city,
Massive.
it's massive. I said, "What's happening? Are all the stalls open?" He said, "No. What they've said is that these stalls can open, these 5 can open for these next 4 hours, then the next 5 will open
Oh,
for the
wow.
next 4 hours," right? So they're staging the operation, and then their number of people who are permitted in the market is as well limited. So, Larry, if that is the new normal, we are all in for a long winter.
Right. Right.
Right? We are all in for a long winter. Both the consumer and the seller are in for
Right.
a long winter. So there is no way we're going to handle this, tackle this together. We are going to tackle this, separately. We are going to tackle this together.
Yeah.
We will, but if we do, what uh, our own history teaches us, yours and mine and ours, is that humanity is resilient. We are tremendously innovative. We find solutions, right?
And
And we are given to tackling and surmounting problems, whatever comes our way. I do believe we will this time around as well.
yeah. And as you said, the poor have always survived by caring for each other.
Yeah,
And even though they didn't have much, if someone had a little more, they would share with someone
they
who
would
didn't have
share. Yeah,
anything. And now at this time, everyone has nothing. And it's time for those of us who still have something left over to start sharing,
yeah.
and to make sure that all of us survive this and come back stronger.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you a little story. I was speaking with one of our clients, Linda the baker, I call her.
Mhm.
She has a small a bakery that she runs. It's where she basically makes bread and sells it, yeah, in Accra, outside Accra. And so she had started with one oven under a tree, and making 6 or 7 loaves a few years back. Got loan from Opportunity, young lady, and she invested that, and now she's got a small factory with 47 workers, and
Wow.
she
Yeah.
got to 8,000 loaves a day. So she's got 47 staff employees, and then she has about 80 women, 80, who come to her factory, pick up the bread, and then go sell it in markets like Makola, right? On their heads, they're carrying these loaves on their heads.
Mhm.
Well, so I was chatting with her, and I said, "How's this going?" And she said, "Well, the tool, she uses the Ghanaian word for brother, is, here's what's happening is I only have 17 of my staff here. The others have gone back to the villages because that's, to stay safe. And even the 17, I had to go to the village and bring them back and assure
Right.
them that I'll keep them safe, because otherwise they were not willing to come. And by local regulation, she's only limited to having 5 of her 80 local lady distributors come a day.
Mm. Mm.
Only 5 a day can come. And then the next 5 and the next 5. Remember, this is Linda's livelihood, but it's also those women's livelihood. This is
Right.
what they're doing to earn a living. And she started crying, and she said, many of the ladies whose turn it is not, they come to me and they say, "Mama, will you give me some bread today? Because my children are hungry. And I'll pay it back to you
Mm.
when it is my turn to sell."
Mm.
And so Linda was on the phone with me. She said, my sisters are hungry. I have to give them bread.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't any, there isn't a second way. I will stand with them today.
Mm-hmm.
They need me. No, I don't want it back. If I can give you the bread that I have, you have it. And that touched me very deeply.
Mm-hmm.
Here is a woman who was born with almost nothing. Mother, I know their story. 3 sisters, father had left. The mother had a very little money, sent her daughter to baking school. And here she is, successful in her own right, entrepreneur in a small one. But tough times come, I'm here for my sisters.
Yep.
They need bread. I was hungry. You gave me something to eat.
Yep.
Thirsty. You gave me something to drink. And then she said, we were closing the conversation, Larry, and she started to thank me. She said, in all these weeks as this has happened, the fact that you would call me from America and care for me and tell me you care for me and pray with me, that is the best thing that's happened. I know we will survive this. I know we will get over it. So thank you. And I want to say that is that both her resilience, her compassion for her fellow sisters. If we all had that same compassion in our own neighborhoods, and for the people we don't see across the waters, and that sense of mutual hope and encouragement, we are with each other. I think if we have those 2 things, we will survive.
Yep.
And our own faith. I'm a person of faith, so for me, the hope comes from my faith, which provides me the assurance that yes, God will triumph. So I will move on, soldier on, and care in turn. We only can love because we've been given love ourselves.
Right.
So,
well, thank you, and may we all follow her example.
Indeed, indeed. Maybe we all follow her example. I'll close with this: is that there is as you are probably. I'm a great fan of Tolkien and an avid reader of the Fellowship of the Rings. There is a short exchange between Gandalf and Frodo, which I think is very relevant for this time. And so I'll read it to you because
good.
I have come back to again and again. And so this is Frodo talking to Gandalf. He says, "I wish it need not have happened in my time," said Frodo. "So do I," said Gandalf. "And so do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us." So we live, Larry, in one of those times.
Right.
And all that we have to decide is to do what to do with the time that is given us. And I hope that we'll decide, and I believe we will, that we will care for each other.
Yep.
That we will physically and in emotional and spiritual ways, we'll care for each other. We'll stand with each other. And that it is, in that mutual encouragement and standing and strength is how we will tackle this crisis. So really, it is for each of us to choose what to do with the time. And I just am very proud that I'm part of a community that has chosen already that we will stand with the voiceless and the powerless and the marginalized. Yes. So thank you. As I know you are, so I thank you for that long journey as well. So thank you.
Well, thank you for what you're doing, Atul, and may God bless you, and you're in my prayers.
Thank you. You were in mine too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.